Like all the time, or just like having it was like they wanted to be there because they just wanted
I told her, like, what's this?
I smell like eucalyptus in case you're wondering. That's what I use for my sinus medicine. Yeah. And it's like, also I have like, I know it's like something with my esophagus and I'll rub it in all day to try to calm my esophagus. And like if I get dizzy, I rub it behind my ears. I know y'all will never get dizzy. I have a knot in my neck that keeps this side from breathing. If I go on an airplane and it ain't pressurized right, it just this ear. It feels like they got a screwdriver in this ear.
that doesn't make sense. But I just said But they still why is it just countywide? Like, everyone votes on every single one. I don't understand that. Like,
Why not? Yeah, I feel like that's what it needs to be. You need to get enough. As we start getting the scoreboard switched around, then
well, to catch sensitivity and setup, it actually anyway. And I started asking her questions like, why do we set them low? Is it like a timing clock? And she said, well, you have to talk to this Alfred charity guy who's in charge of like security or something. Because like that was like alarming. I was like, oh, so getting like so.
it's also more scary when someone bring a knife in.
Exactly. So I was like, wait a second, what? Like, I kind of like asked her that to repeat that to make sure I heard that right. She's like, anything really like, that's not purposeful. It's said. It's, I guess it is. Theirs, I guess, I don't know.
Just not have something that the guy can make it and just run off.
The time is 7:04 p.m. and I would like to call to order the Monday, November 13th meeting of the Southampton County School Board. We have 6 of our 8 appointed school board members present, so we do have a quorum. The agenda was included in your board packet. Is there a board member who would like to add an item to the agenda for tonight? So if not, then the agenda is approved as distributed. The minutes of our October 9th meeting were also included in our board packets. Are there any corrections to the minutes? So if there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. Under recognitions tonight, we have the BSBA Academy Awards. Dr. Shannon.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our November school board meeting. In conjunction with the Virginia School Boards Association, we are pleased to honor school board members for participation in the VSBA Academy program. Tonight, we will recognize Mr. Christopher Smith with a certificate of recognition, Dr. Deborah Goodwin, a certificate of achievement and a bronze pen, Mrs. Denise Bond, certificate of excellence and a silver pen, Mr. Gregory Scott, certificate of recognition, Lynn Bradley, certificate of achievement and a bronze pen, and myself, certificate of recognition. Okay, let's give all of our board members a round of applause.
Thank you. We do participate in the Virginia School Boards Association training, and we accumulate points depending upon the number of trainings and sessions that we attend. So, thank you. We're now going to move into the public comment period of our meeting. Although Virginia law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we choose to do so because we believe it's important for us to hear from our community members. We value public participation. We recognize the importance of receiving public input on issues the agenda is the action items. The first action item is the financial report and payment of bills. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Joy Carr is coming to the podium to make a presentation.
Good evening, all present tonight. If I can bring your attention, please, to the preliminary expenditure report for the month of October. If you'll notice, our local operating budget remains at $35,613,363. Our expenditures through October 31st total $7,283,637.13. This leaves us a balance of $28,329,725.87 in our operating budget. Please note that as of the date of this report, 20.45% has been expended from the operating budget. The October bill list has been attached to the agenda tonight for your approval. Are there any questions?
Any questions, Ms. Carr?
Make a motion that we pay the bill.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Ms. Bradley, that we pay the bills as presented. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the local policies and procedures for implementation of special education regulations. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Tonight we will have representatives from the Department of Special Education to come forward and make the presentation. And they'll talk a little bit about the updates that we are making to our local policies and procedures manual for students with disabilities.
Good evening to the Honorable Board Chair, Dr. Goodman, and board members, and the Honorable Dr. Gwendolyn Shin, Superintendent of Southampton County Public Schools. On behalf of the Director of Special Education and Student Services, I have the privilege this evening of reviewing the local policies and procedures for implementation of special education regulations in Virginia's public schools, along with my colleague this evening, Ms. Norma Jones, Coordinator of Special Education. In your board packets, I believe you have already received the local policies and procedures for implementation of special education regulations in Virginia's public schools. You see on the screen, we would like to introduce or let you be aware this evening of who's actually on the team. Again, the Director of Special Education and Student Services is Dr. Tanya Taylor. The Coordinator of Special Education is Ms. Norma Jones. I serve as the Special Education Resources Specialist for the department. Dr. Shonda Harris Muhammad is the Director of Pupil Personnel. Ms. Cheryl Boone serves as one of our school social workers, along with Ms. Sonia Davis, another school social worker. Ms. Jones.
In Southampton County Public Schools, we as educators believe that all students can learn. So this quote seemed to fit our thoughts. It shouldn't matter how slowly a child learns, as long as we are encouraging them not to stop. And this came from Robert Meehan.
Thank you. The child find process and the general responsibility for child find. Each LEA is required to locate, evaluate, identify all children, birth through 21 inclusive, living within Southampton County Public Schools jurisdiction, who may be in need of special education and or related services, who are highly mobile, such as migrant and homeless children, are wards of the state, attend private schools, including children who are home instructed or home tutored, are suspected of being children with disabilities and in need of special education, even though they are advancing from grade to grade and are under age 18, who are suspected of having a disability, who need special education and related services, and who are incarcerated in a regional or local jail in its geographic boundaries for 10 or more days. In addition, the determination that a child is eligible for special education and or related services shall be made on an individual basis by a group that includes the child's parents that is collectively qualified to conduct as appropriate individual diagnostic assessments in the areas of speech and language, academic achievement, intellectual development, and social emotional development, to interpret assessment and intervention data and apply critical analysis to those data, and develop appropriate educational and transitional recommendations based on the assessment data. Child Find for private school students. Southampton County Public Schools also locate, identify, and evaluate children with disabilities who are enrolled by their parents in private, including religious, elementary schools, secondary schools, and including children who are home instructed or home tutored. The equitable participation of parentally placed private school children and an accurate count of those children. Southampton County Public Schools shall undertake Child Find activities, and we do annually, similar to the activities undertaken for its public school children. The cost of carrying out the Child Find requirements, including the cost of individual evaluations, may not be considered in determining Southampton County Public Schools has met its appropriate share or expenditure obligation. The Child Find process shall be completed in a time period comparable to that for students attending public school in Southampton County. Now we'll actually transition or switch gears here to talk about specifically what is special education. Special education is governed by the federal law in most educational jurisdictions under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and you'll often hear us refer to it as IDEA. Specially designed instruction is a customized instructional program at no cost to parents, is free, regardless of the disability, to meet the unique needs of a child. Each individual receiving special education is different and has different needs. IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 1975, that is again a federal education law. Ms. Jones will continue to provide us information in reference to the 14 categories of disabilities and also discuss the individualized education process.
Okay. Alrighty. So, special education process. How does a student receive services? We go through the pre-referral. Pre-referrals can be made by anyone that has connection with the student if there's a concern. And we move forward. We have 10 days after we receive the referral to hold a meeting to see if evaluations are necessary, and if so, the components that we need to test the student in. If the student goes through eligibility within that 65-day period that we do have, then the student obtains an IEP, which is an individualized education program. And at that IEP meeting, placement and least restrictive environment is determined. IEPs are good for 1 year. However, if there's a change to be made to an IEP during their lifespan, it's called an amendment, and that can happen as often as necessary. Procedures for determining eligibility and educational needs. After we interpret the information, that's when we determine the eligibility team, which is composed of members from the school board office as well as representatives from the school and the parent and or guardian. Sometimes they bring the advocate in. We go through the documentation to see if they meet the criteria to receive services under IDEA. All right.
Related service professionals are a part of this evaluation process. And so at that time, the parent may give consent, or these are some examples. However, this list is not exhaustive. An ideological evaluation, or the student may need interpretive services, Braille, wherein we would rely on the services through the AIM Virginia, that's accessible instructional materials to be accessible to the students. We would also utilize, possibly at this time, counseling services, early identification and assessment of disabilities, medical services to help us determine eligibility, school health services for health-related needs, occupational therapy may be warranted, orientation and mobility services, parent counseling and training, physical therapy may be warranted. Psychological services, recreation, rehabilitation counseling, social work services, speech language pathology services, transportation, interpreter services, transition specialists, and vocational trainer counselor. Ms. Jones?
Okay, there are 14 disability categories, and I will summarize them as quickly as possible. They are autism, deafness, deaf-blindness, developmental delay, emotional disability, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disability, other health impairment, orthopedic impairment, specific learning disability, speech language impairment, traumatic brain injury, and visual impairment, including blindness. This is the list that we go through each time we hold eligibility. Think of it this way: special education is a service. It is brought to the student through the IEP. It is an effort to close the gap between the student's present level of performance, which we call the clock, and the student's expected level of performance. The 6 core principles of special education is an appropriate evaluation and assessments, free and appropriate public education, which we refer to as FAPE, the IEP, the least restrictive environment, and the parent. And if the student is old enough, he or she may participate. A lot of students often waive that right and give the parents the right to proceed on their behalf. And they always get a copy of their procedural safeguard, which are their rights. How is confidentiality preserved? That's a big issue with us. We don't want anyone getting in trouble for seeing someone else's information. So we instruct our teachers and anyone that will have access to students' records to keep them under lock and key, out of sight, and access is denied to outside agencies unless they give us a written consent that the parent signs. Employees must respect the students and the family's right to privacy. And we use access logs in the front of our folders. Everyone has to sign in to make sure that we keep a record of who is doing that documentation. And regular education teachers also have to do this as well.
FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. This is the federal education privacy law. This refers to all of our students and their rights and their parents' rights, the right to inspect and review any and all records the district keeps. And we must make sure that we follow the timeline. It also refers to the right to request correction of records as needed, and the right to consent to disclosure of personal identifiable information contained in the education records. Compliance monitoring. When we talk about the parents' rights and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, we are also reminded of compliance and monitoring. Southampton County Public Schools shall ensure, like all LEAs, that all initials re-evaluation, and that refers to evaluations, manifestation determination review, and individual education programs are in compliance with state regulations in accordance with the Virginia Code. On a monthly basis, building lead teachers are required to meet with either the director and or the central office team to update compliance. The compliance monitor at each school, which we refer to as the liaison teachers for special education, are responsible for monitoring the timelines and due dates of IEPs and reevaluations and submitting the finding to the building level special education administrator and coordinator of special education. This evening, we have provided a brief overview of special education policies and the implementation of those guidelines and policies here for Southampton County Public Schools. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Any questions from board members?
Madam Chair, I have been a part of several of these IEP meetings, and I've always found our staff to be very professional in their endeavor.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. So we do need a board member to move that we accept local policies and procedures, regulations as presented in the written document. We have a motion by Mr. Scott. There was a second by Ms. Roundtree. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item that we need to address is the use of facilities request. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. So, Mr. Brian Brewer, the county administrator, sent me an email on November the 2nd requesting an extension to the current lease agreement that the Board of Supervisors has with the Southampton County Public School Division. And he would like for that extension to be through March 6th of 2024. And I'm in favor of the extension. The original lease agreement would have ended on January the 31st of 2024, so they want to extend it to March. And of course, this is because they are renovating our courthouse.
Any questions about that extension on using the Fresh Start building? Do we have a motion to approve the extension? We have a motion by Ms. Bradley. A second by Ms. Lane to approve the lease extension agreement requested by the Southampton County Board of Supervisors. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We also have a use of facilities request from Contemporary School of Dance. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Carol Fox with the Contemporary School of Dance is requesting the use of Southampton High School on May 17th and May 18th of 2024. She would like to rent the facility from 5:30 until 8 o'clock on Friday and 2 o'clock until 8 o'clock on Saturday. And she utilizes our facility almost every year, with the exception of COVID, for the dance recital. She will have insurance with Farm Bureau, and she will charge an admission fee. The amount will be $4 for the parent and $10 for anyone else. She also normally donates $1,000 back to the Southampton High School clubs, such as FBLA, SGA, Beta Club, and others, so that they can attend conventions. The cost of the use of facility is $1,232.50.
Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion by Mr. Scott, a second by Ms. Lane to approve the facility use request from Contemporary School of Dance. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item that we need to review is the Saturday school plan. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. I am so excited that we will have Dr. Blunt to come forward and talk with the school board about our Saturday Academy plan. And this is an to implement the all-in plan with Fidelity. Of course, the all-in plan is the plan that the new state superintendent of education proposed, and we definitely have bought into her plan. And so what we would like to do, in addition to the efforts that we are making throughout the school day, is we would also like to offer services to students on Saturdays.
Good evening, Dr. Goodwin, Mrs. Smith, members of the board, Dr. Shannon. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you to present just a slight overview, or a brief overview of our Saturday school. We have named our Saturday school Saturday Academy, and we have selected our students to participate based on SOL data from last year, present performance, also recommendations from their parents and recommendations from their teachers. We do have students grouped into 3 groups. There are 3 tiers. Thank you. Our primary focus will be on those students who are in desperate need based on their performance. It is designed to recover learning loss. Of course, you're familiar with the 3-tier groups of students. We're not going to eliminate any student, but those students who happen to be functioning on level or have demonstrated that their learning loss is minimum, we will have enrichment activities for them. We will have a ratio of 10-to-1. This will allow our students to receive up-close and personal instruction. And we'd like to define our efforts as more traditional. We will have different platforms, digital platforms that we will use. The state recommends Zern and Ignite. We will capitalize on those platforms. However, we will also use other platforms such as iXL. We will use SOL formatted activities, for example, SOL Pass, Jefferson Lab. The students will certainly be familiar with what they already use in the classroom, but it will allow us to be prescriptive in the activities that we assign our students. As an incentive, we will share with the students and the staff members that are involved in the Saturday Academy t-shirts that will identify all participants as Saturday Academy members. We do encourage attendance, and at the end of the program, we will afford the students a trip to a theme park. Throughout the program, we will have cultural enrichment activities. The next thing that I would like to mention to you is students will have an opportunity to recover attendance. We know that the state of Virginia, in terms of standards of quality, require a certain number of clock hours of instruction. So for those students who have missed time from school, we will give them an opportunity to make up the missed content. And this will be based on the time that they are out of school. The schedule will run from 7:30 for staff arrival. Classes will begin promptly at 8 o'clock. It will include breakfast and lunch. Staff members will leave 30 minutes after. This will allow staff members to collaborate, plan, debrief, and prepare progress reports to communicate consistently with parents. This program is aligned with the All-In Virginia Plan. Again, this is something that is very comprehensive. It is our remediation and our celebration plan all in one.
All right.
We do.
I'll jump in,
Yes.
as well. So the times that, Dr. Blunt is proposing, those are tentative. It's possible that, we may start at 9 o'clock. We are going to, send out a survey to teachers, students, parents, whomever, to try to get some feedback from them. We are going to offer the Saturday Academy for 20 Saturdays. And those 20 Saturdays are the equivalent of about 20 additional school days. And we are proposing to pay our teachers $50 an hour to come on Saturdays and work. And we are looking for the best of the best in Virginia when it comes to teachers. So we will reach out to other school divisions to try to recruit teachers. It may not just be teachers from Southampton, but it will be teachers from all around who will come in and work on Saturday. This program is being funded by the funds that were designated for the All-In Academy, and we received about $1 million for our All-In plan. So that is why we are able to pay the $50 an hour to the teacher. We would love to be able to do this year-round with other programs, but of course, you know, because of the budget, we are not able to. But anytime we do have an opportunity to do so, we do. And because of the funding that we've received from the state for the All-In Academy or the All-In plan, we are now able to do so. We are offering paraprofessionals $25 an hour, secretaries $25 an hour, food service employees $25 an hour, bus drivers $30 an hour, school nurses, RNs $40 an hour, LPNs $30 an hour, CNAs $20 an hour, school security officers $25 an hour, custodians $25 an hour. So we are just looking forward to everyone, you know, being on board and working with us to provide a robust Saturday academy for our students. And the number of students are listed in the plan. However, you know, a lot of times you don't get 100% of the students that should be in attendance. And we are going to just work with families to try to encourage students to come, not because of, you know, the amusement park or different rewards, but because they really have a need. Now, I will say that the criteria that the State Department set is very high as far as who would qualify for the Saturday Academy. You know, normally a 400 is considered passing, and so we usually just tutor students who score below 400. But the State Department has set Tier 1 at 450, you know, and Tier 2 at 449 to 375. So the standards are really, really high. And what that means is that a child could have passed a state test the year before, but still qualify to be a participant in our Saturday Academy. All right, any questions?
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
What grade level, I might have missed this, what grade levels are you offering this?
We're starting at kindergarten.
About 12? And will it be housed at each school, or just one?
No, it'll only be housed at the high school and the middle school so that we could provide just centralized oversight of the program.
How many children are you looking at?
Really depends.
Because I don't have it on my board doc.
Oh, you know?
It was earlier, because I read through part of it earlier, but
should come up after that.
Nope.
Well, it looks like about 600 students.
It is broken down by school.
And with the kindergarten, elementary school will be here also?
Correct. We'll have them separated, and we'll have enough people to monitor and watch and make sure that everyone is safe.
When are you going to be started?
So the first 2 Saturdays, we would like to just provide training to the teachers and also have the teachers to work with us to pull resources. But we have December the 2nd as our first Saturday, and again, that will be a training Saturday, and December the 9th would also be a training Saturday.
So you're not going to start with kids until after the first of the year?
Yes.
We will also incorporate a parent workshop in our Saturday Academy.
And I think it would take until the first of the year to hire teachers and get everybody on board, because they gotta do the recruitment process to get the teachers.
I'd like to figure out what happened to mine on my board docs, so that I have it back where I can look at people now. Like I said, I looked at it earlier, but it's not.
That disappeared.
I was also,
So, okay.
yours is gone too.
Mr. Hatch, you hearing that?
Ms. Artis does more.
You help them recover documents, or Ms. Archie will give you a hard copy.
Yes.
Either way, you'll have it.
Are there any questions?
Any more questions?
But do you have questions, even though you can't look at it, do you have questions, even though it's disappeared? So it looks like, about 600 students will be eligible. If you think about a ratio of 10 students per class, you know, so recruitment is gonna be a major effort here in terms of recruiting teachers, not only from South.
Professional per class?
Right.
Well, not exactly. We have to see, you know, who applies and who decides if they want to work, and they will apply to work at the Saturday Academy, and then we'll go from there. So, of course, we will have paraprofessionals with some of our younger students, kindergarten, first, second, you know, they'll need some paraprofessionals. But, and then contingent upon the learning needs of some of our other students, they also may need paraprofessionals. But it's going to be need-based, it's going to be individualized, and it really just depends on the needs of the particular students where the paraprofessionals will serve.
Okay.
We will recruit outside the district, so we'll recruit teachers from Southampton as well as teachers from surrounding areas. Sounds exciting. Any other questions? Mr. Smith, Ms. Brown, tonight?
And this is not in lieu of some of the other efforts that are being made. You know, our principals have worked really, really hard on a early release tutoring schedule. And what we mean by that is they created an early release schedule, and I want to give credit to Ms. Susan Fowler for this idea. She started last year. But instead of us sending kids home, we send them to tutor. So we do that in some schools 1 day a week, and hopefully as the year progresses, we may do it a little bit more frequently. But the I guess the motive behind all of this is just what I call straight teaching and kind of getting back to the basics, because a lot of what we do day to day, nothing's wrong with computers, it's fine, but we still have some students who really, really could benefit from a little bit more face-to-face and one-on-one with a teacher. And that's what we want to do on Saturdays, and then to try to reduce that student-teacher ratio.
Every Saturday,
Yes. Yep. And the dates are listed once they
to approve the Saturday Academy? A motion by Ms. Lane, a second by Mr. Scott, to approve the Saturday school, plan. Any discussion on the motion?
I forgot to mention that administrators also are able to teach, because all of our administrators have a teaching license or teaching certificate, and they all started as teachers. So the $50 an hour that we are paying the teachers, if an administrator wants to come and serve in the capacity of a teacher, they too will make the same amount that the teacher will make. So I just wanted to share that.
So we did have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, raise your eye. Any opposed? Thank you. So we're down now to informational items. And the first informational item is the instructional report. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. We have Ms. Rachel Dole, who actually presented the report to us last month, who is coming back again this month to present the instructional report. Thank you, Ms. Dole.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Shannon, board members, and all present. I'm presenting the November instructional report. The following items are on the agenda. Virtual Virginia update, professional development for teachers and staff, Title I family nights, and dates to remember. For Virtual Virginia updates, Mr. Nichols has completed all second 9 weeks enrollments in the Virtual Virginia Genius system. All SMS second semester enrollments have been entered as well. SHS second semester enrollments will take place following student schedule reviews with the SHS Guidance Department. Virtual Parent-Student Support Conferences occurred on October 25th with SMS students and parents, and October 30th with SHS students and parents. With the exception of 1 or 2 of those students, all students have shown significant growth after the conferences. Additional conferences will take place in November, January, and February. Virtual Virginia teachers conducted an in-person site visit on Monday, October 30th. Similar to Ms. Steely's visit in Science 6 in October, students responded well and were able to build relationships with our Civics and Economics 8 teacher, Colleen Parker, and our English 10 teacher, Wendy Mayfield. On Monday, November 6th, we held our Professional Development Day. We had several trainings. The first was Harold Saunders from iReady, provided 2 sessions, a K-3 session for K-3 teachers on the diagnostic tests and use of the diagnostic, on use of the digital platform. The second was for grades 4 through 8 teachers, and their session was on using data to plan instruction. We also had training on the new Elevate system for COGAT testing. COGAT is the assessment the division uses to screen students to determine eligibility for gifted services. Webinar was provided by PlanBook to familiarize teachers with their new interface. Power School front office training was provided by Bill Hatch following our Power School's administrative training. And a frontline training for principals was provided by Rachel Bogue. Waterford training was provided by Christine Foley from Waterford. The presentation was for pre-K and kindergarten teachers. The title of their presentation was Using Waterford Data to Drive Instruction. Title I schools are required to host a Title I annual parent meeting in which we have a presentation informing the families of the following: their rights as a parent under the ESSA, what it means to be Title I and school-wide, an explanation of the School Parent-Student Compact, their child's curriculum or SOLs, their child's assessments to measure progress on their curriculum, their school's parent involvement policy, how to locate their school's report card on BDOE's website, resources available to parents, and to help their child at home on state standards. Capron Elementary held a family book and treat night on October 19th with approximately 138 attending. Meharron Elementary hosted a trunk or treat event on October 18th with 168 attending. Nottoway hosted a fall carnival on October 18th with 160 attending. And Riverdale held a fall festival October 19th with approximately 400 attending. Special thanks to our reading specialists and teachers for all their hard work in making those evenings a huge success for our students. On the next few slides are several photos from those events. I think the kids had a really good time, but I think the teachers might have as well. And finally, a few November dates to remember. Report cards went home today. Teachers administered the Getting Started tutorial session today. ASVAB testing will take place on December 1st, and SAT and ACT testing will be hosted by SHS on December 2nd and December 9th. Any questions?
Any questions? Board members? Thank you.
Right, I'm going to ask Dr. Blunt to come up as well to talk about the Tuesday talks as a part of the instructional report. Thank you so much, Ms. Doyle. Awesome job.
Members of the board, Dr. Shannon, we do have an opportunity to offer platforms in the form of webinars for stakeholders. We have assessed some of our needs, one being attendance, as Ms. Jones and Dr. Leonard shared with us earlier, IEPs and special education expectations, social emotional wellness, course offerings, career development, FAFSA. There are a number of topics that we will share by way of a virtual platform or webinar. Parents and other stakeholders, even students, can join these to gain help, to gain additional knowledge, and to ask questions to help in the overall development and success of their student. These will be on Tuesdays. The link for registration will be posted on our website, and we welcome stakeholders to register in advance. We will host the webinars. All of the topics will be posted, and if there are topics that have been omitted, we encourage you to share those topics of interest, and we will add them to our Tuesday talk webinars.
So Dr. Blunt, so people register for each webinar. So like if I wanted to come in November, I wouldn't have to come in December. Is that the way it works?
Yes. And there is a list. You can see those. We have a list, and we have them on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock to make it convenient for those who are working. You certainly can still register and listen by audio, but you will have an opportunity to actually see in the form of Zoom.
So this is once a month? One Tuesday a month?
2 Tuesdays a month. Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay, excuse me. 2 each month.
And again, we encourage you, if you have topics of interest, we will certainly receive those, and we will schedule someone to facilitate that webinar.
first one is November 21st, talks about attendance. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the maintenance, operations, and transportation report.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Bell is almost at the podium to give the report.
Always being that, fun being that one that stands between you and dinner. All right, so in the operations department, the buildings and grounds, we are working on beautification across the division. Sorry. Good evening, Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Shannon Board. Thank you so much. HVAC upgrades and repairs continue. They are an ongoing piece. The last month, Mother Nature has been all over the place, from almost 90 to the next day being in the 40s. So it's been very interesting to keep all of our buildings and all of our folks comfortable, and the principals do a great job of communicating and letting me know of what we can do. And even tonight when we came in, sorry, Mr. Murn, but we turned the heat up in here. I know you were comfortable, but got that straight. We've had our third school zone light get hit in the last 2.5 years. Sometime in the last 10 days, it was just placed very nicely on the side of the road next to its stand here, just to the west of the high school. So we're having to order a new solar panel and control module for that one. Our crews, they stay busy. Richard and his guys, they are doing the daily things, the filters, the tiles, the lights, to go along with the different work orders that come through. So it's a constant piece for them to continue to keep our schools up. They do a great job of keeping our schools. They get the items that they need. Again, the principals and their staffs are great in communicating to our departments to get what we need, when we need it, where we need it. And these guys, they do a great job. They answer the call, after hours, whatever's necessary. They do a fantastic job. In food services, attended new directors training that was presented by the Institute of Child Nutrition and the VDOE. Provided us with tons of information and helped us get a better direction on some things. As we came out of our review from last year, we have been chosen to once again go through the federal review, and we are also participating in a procurement review as well this year. In transportation, we welcome Mr. Emmanuel Vincent as our new transportation supervisor. He is a Southampton County native. He comes to us with more than 10 years experience of being on the bus, but also being a supervisor in Suffolk. We have had an unbelievable rotating door with drivers, both car and bus. It has been a very fluid year on keeping people on staff. And each day, our staff, we juggle the multiple substitutes that we have to employ. We have a handful of drivers that are one-tier drivers that we've gotten to run a second route during the day. We've utilized our mechanic and our supervisor. They're on the bus almost every day, and it's not the situation that we want to be in, but we're playing the hand that we're dealt right now and doing our best to get our kids to and from school as safely and on time as possible. Towards the end of the fall season, the middle school was the one that saw the biggest impact because their games started a little bit earlier, so they were having to leave earlier, but they were starting to see that impact. And I've been very proud of the fact that we haven't had a big impact in making our kids wait to get to events. Now we started to get into that and seeing an impact of that because of our shortages. Lastly, set of work orders from the last month that you guys can peruse. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Mr. Melvin?
Thank you.
The student enrollment report and the student teacher attendance report. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, our enrollment for the month of October was 2,500 with 96.6%. So congratulations, Catherine, you and your students and parents. And the winner for teacher attendance is Southampton High School with 95.13%. Congratulations, Dr. White and your staff.
There are numerous school calendars included in our board packets. Please review those calendars and attend events as your schedule will permit. As many of you know, since our last meeting, we have lost two Southampton County employees. Ms. Nancy Ricks, who was in special education task, and so did Mr. Bobby Grant, who was in human resources. So I'd like for us to take a moment of silence just to honor those two people who passed since our last meeting. Thank you. They will be greatly missed here in Southampton County Public Schools. So pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 and 2 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the board upon a motion and a second will convene in a closed session to consider the following: personnel appointments, resignations, retirements and compensation, intra-district student transfer requests, out-of-district student transfer requests, student discipline matters. Do we have after the closed session, the board will return to this area to take any necessary actions on the matters discussed in our closed session. So do we have a motion to adjourn to closed session? I have a motion by Ms. Bradley, a second by Ms. Lane, that we will make our way to the teachers' lounge for the closed session, and then we will return to this area after the closed session.